56 shooters wiped out during a memorial service. Not on the pavement, not in a standoff with the feds, and not in a roadside ambush. This went down inside a funeral parlor in Zapopan, deep in Jalisco territory. They were holding a vigil for a fallen comrade, surrounded by blood relatives. Amidst the wreaths and the ballads, they thought they were untouchable. Even the most ruthless syndicates usually honor a ceasefire at a wake. That unwritten rule held until last Sunday, when the special unit known as the Bats decided the code was null and void. No ground is holy anymore. If your ticket is punched, they'll collect the debt even while you're saying your last goodbyes to a casket. They breached the Gardens of Memory at 9 p.m. with such ferocity that when they exited 12 minutes later, the chapel looked less like a viewing room and more like an abattoir. 56 operators down, 17 bystanders caught in the crossfire. It's the loudest statement the organization has made all year. If you're marked for deletion, there is no sanctuary, no timeout. Not even a brother's funeral will shield you. But here is the part that will really twist your gut. That body count of 56 included women and kids barely old enough to vote, alongside hardened veterans with decades in the game. They all dropped just the same because the hit squad didn't come to check IDs. They arrived to erase an entire faction that, according to internal intel, was plotting a breakaway. They were building bridges with the rivals in Sinaloa. The group was poised to bite the hand that fed them and take the northern Jalisco turf with them. To understand the madness, you have to know who was in the box. His name was Rodrigo Medina. They called him El Cachorro the puppy, 34 years old, and until a week prior, the plaza boss for the Tepatitlan sector. He wasn't small fry. He ran a machine generating 20 million pesos a month through trafficking, shakedowns, and protection rackets. He commanded a personal army of nearly 100 guns. He enjoyed a level of autonomy few regional commanders get, but he had a fatal flaw: ambition. The young boss had spent months carving out his own kingdom. He was handpicking soldiers loyal only to him. He was skimming off the top instead of sending the full cut to HQ, acting less like a lieutenant and more like an independent kingpin. Then, last Tuesday, the puppy met his end in a skirmish with the military near Tepa. The official report calls it a standard exchange of fire during a raid. Word on the street: the Bats dropped a dime on his location to the soldiers because management decided he was a liability that needed pruning. However, it happened. The puppy took 5 rounds to the chest, and his crew, his Praetorian guard of loyal soldiers, organized a massive send-off in Zapopan to honor him with full underworld distinction. That funeral home is an open secret in Guadalajara. It's where the heavy hitters go to mourn their own. It's not flashy, not in the high-rent district, but it offers the discretion these guys value. The owners know exactly who signs the checks. They charge a premium to look the other way and guarantee security. Or at least, that was the deal until Sunday. The service kicked off at 4 in the afternoon on Sunday. 56 members of the puppy's inner circle rolled up in a convoy, heavily strapped because you never leave the tools at home but officially there to grieve. They brought the flowers, the band, the food, and the booze. They placed his coffin center stage, surrounded by photos of his glory days. They built a makeshift shrine. The immediate family was there too: his mother, his brothers, his 2 little girls, 9 and 11 years old. Civilians whose only crime was sharing blood with a boss. For the first few hours, everything followed the script. It was a standard gangster burial. Tears, embraces, shots of tequila raised to the sky in his honor. The men swapped war stories: operations they'd pulled, firefights they'd walked away from, enemies they'd put in the dirt. It was a moment to tighten the bonds, to reaffirm loyalty within the cell. But they were oblivious to the fact that the Bats had this moment circled on the calendar. This was the masterstroke. The cleanup crew knew the boss's death would pull the whole pack to one spot. They wouldn't be scattered across the territory. They wouldn't be watching their 6. They'd be huddled in one room, defenses down, distracted by mourning. It was the perfect setup to delete the whole branch in a single stroke. It sent a devastating message and neutralized the betrayal before it could even start. Surveillance confirmed the 56 key players were inside the building, Maybe not every single gun the puppy commanded, but all the ones that mattered. The top brass, the shot callers, the seasoned pros, and the guys with the deep connections to rival networks. The ones who didn't make the guest list were just the foot soldiers. The grunts, who didn't matter in the big picture. Wiping out these 56 targets basically cut the head off the snake. The hit squad, known as the Bats, rolled up at exactly 9 p.m. in a convoy of 6 vans. They didn't bother with stealth or try to blend in as mourners. They jumped out in full tactical gear. Balaclavas on, ready for war. They were packing heavy heat. They jammed the funeral home exits with their vehicles and stormed the place. Guns blazing. First to drop were the 2 lookouts posted at the front door. They didn't even have a second to flinch. A hail of fire from AK-47s put them down before they could let out a single warning cry. The Bats pushed forward, heading straight for the main wake room where the group was huddled. The roar of gunfire triggered instant chaos screams filled the air as people scrambled, hunting for exits that were already sealed tight. The targets inside tried to fight back, pulling their pieces and diving behind anything solid: tables, chairs, even the little dog's casket. But it was hopeless. They were completely outgunned and outmaneuvered from the jump. The attackers held the doorway, giving them a perfect kill zone over the whole room. Plus, they had the element of total surprise. The guys inside were sitting ducks trapped, half of them 3 sheets to the wind, firing, wild with zero coordination. The firefight raged for about 8 minutes of nonstop noise. Then, the shooting stopped, and the hunting began. The Bats swept the room methodically, making sure the wounded stayed down and flushing out anyone trying to hide in the restrooms or closets. There was no talking it out, no surrender option. This was a clean sweep, plain and simple. El Cachorro's daughters, just 9 and 11 years old, watched the whole nightmare unfold from under a table where their grandma had shoved them when the bullets started flying. They watched their uncle take his last breath, saw their older cousins get taken out. They heard the pleading, the screams, and the final shots that ended it all. That is a scar on their souls that will never fade, and nobody is lining up to offer them counseling. The system writes them off as cartel kids who deserve whatever they get. Among the 56 bodies on the floor, there were 4 women. But do not get it twisted. These were not just wives or dates. They were deep in the game. One was a money cruncher running the books. Another managed the safe house network. The other 2 were straight-up shooters. Women who ran dangerous missions, shoulder to shoulder with the men. The organization has been bringing more women into the fold for the dirty work. And the Bats did not show them any special mercy. They were taken out just like the rest. The 17 injured civilians included funeral home staff who were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. One of the embalmers caught a stray slug in the shoulder. A receptionist ended up with shrapnel tearing up her leg. The manager is in the ICU with a busted head after diving for cover and smashing into a desk. Just collateral damage in a war they never signed up for. Once the Bats were done with their grim work, and they had confirmed every target was down, they vanished as fast as they appeared. They piled back into their trucks and melted into the Zapopan traffic. By the time the first sirens wailed in 15 minutes too late, the place was a slaughterhouse. 56 dead, blood soaking the floor, survivors shaking in terror, and a building chewed up by lead. The authorities' reaction was the usual joke. The prosecutor put out some cookie-cutter statement about investigating violent incidents. The governor hopped on social media to send thoughts and prayers to the families. The National Guard beefed up patrols nearby. But none of that is going to catch the killers or stop the next bloodbath. Real justice. Forget about it. The crazy part from a tactical view is how the Bats pulled this off without a single cop showing up during the hit. 15 minutes of heavy gunfire in the middle of the city, and not one patrol car until the smoke cleared. There are 2 ways to look at that. Either the local police are too inept to answer a mass shooting call, or the hit squad paid off the right people to look the other way while they handled business. Chances are, it is a mix of both. Now, the families of the 56 deceased have a brutal choice to make. Do they claim the bodies and hold funerals, risking that they will be marked as targets by the Bats? Or do they leave their loved ones behind and live with the guilt of denying them a proper goodbye? Some will risk it all for love. Others will walk away to stay alive. There is no winning here, and in the middle of all that wreckage, even the puppy's coffin did not survive the storm. The corpse, already prepped and suited up for the viewing, was knocked to the floor, soaking in the red aftermath of his own crew, who arrived to pay respects and never left. It's a twisted sort of irony, a final insult to the deceased, interrupted by the slaughter of the very men honoring him. As for the Jardines del Recuerdo venue, it's unlikely they will ever bounce back from a nightmare like this. You can scrub the floors and patch the bullet holes in the walls, and they might even try to open the doors again. But that address is forever branded as the site where 56 lives were extinguished. No one is going to book a memorial in a graveyard. That business is just as cold as the 56 targets lying on its tiles. The bats didn't just execute a hit, they broadcast a warning loud and clear to any other faction dreaming of going solo. Nothing is off limits. Not your grief, not your family, and certainly not the old school rules of the game. Once you are on the list, there is no hiding. Pray at a church, toast at a wedding, celebrate a baptism, it makes no difference. We will come for you. Treason carries a fatal price tag. Always. Yet, unleashing this kind of savagery isn't free for the organization either. Whenever they shatter these unwritten laws and turn safe havens into kill zones, they chip away at the thin layer of order, keeping the underworld spinning. When you shoot up wakes and scar 9-year-olds for life, when you wipe out whole crews without so much as a hearing, you build a kingdom of paranoia. Trust evaporates. And eventually, that fear boomerangs right back at leadership. Soldiers constantly looking over their shoulders for a friendly bullet are the first to run. Talk to the feds, or flip colors. Allegiance forged in terror is brittle as glass. It shatters the second they see a way out. We'll see in the coming days if anyone from the puppy's crew skipped the service and survived the purge. Likely, some foot soldiers didn't make the guest list, or low-level lookouts were stuck on patrol duty miles away. They are on the clock now. Options hand themselves over to the bats and pray for mercy that doesn't exist. Hightail it out of Jalisco and go ghost, or publicly defect to a rival syndicate. With the Cubs turf in Tepetitlan up for grabs, the organization will install a new handler immediately. Expect a loyalist straight from Central Command, someone with zero aspirations of running their own show. It's going to be a total reset. Fresh recruits will fill the boots of the fallen, and you can bet they'll tighten the leash to ensure the next boss doesn't get any bright ideas about breaking away. I've got to ask, is storming a memorial service a step too far, even for the narco world? Does this kind of ruthless efficiency make the cartel stronger, or is it a self-inflicted wound? And were you shocked that women and children weren't spared? And what about the venue owners who knowingly hosted a mob gathering? What's their price? Drop your thoughts below if this breakdown hit home. If you believe the world needs to see the reality of this violence, hit that like button and share this story. Make sure you're subscribed with the bell on. Tomorrow, I'm digging into who made it out alive, what's unfolding on the streets of Tepetitlan, and whether this bloodbath has scared other factions into loyalty or rebellion. Think about this before you go. Sunday evening, 56 souls walked into a sanctuary to grieve their leader. 12 minutes later, they were all executed, left lying in a sea of red. 2 little girls watched their entire family wiped out in an instant. A business lies in ruins, but the message will echo for a decade. There is no safe harbor, no code of honor, and no middle ground, only total submission or a shallow grave. Catch you on the next one. The tragedy described in this story is more than a tale of crime and violence. It is a powerful reminder of the true cost of a life built on fear, power, and betrayal. Behind every headline about cartels or gang conflicts are real people, shattered families, and innocent lives permanently scarred. What stands out most is not the power of the gunman, but the pain left behind. 2 young girls hiding under a table, watching their family disappear in minutes, represent the silent victims of violence, children who never chose this world but must carry its consequences forever. Moments like this reveal a harsh truth: violence never truly protects anyone. it only multiplies suffering. The pursuit of power through intimidation and loyalty, enforced by fear, eventually destroys the very system that created it. When trust disappears and betrayal becomes routine, even the strongest organizations begin to crumble from within. Fear can control people for a time, but it can never build something lasting. There is a deeper lesson here for society. True strength does not come from dominance or revenge, but from stability, justice, and compassion. Communities grow stronger when they invest in opportunity, education, and hope, things that give young people a future far away from cycles of violence. Stories like this should not only shock us, they should remind us why building a more humane, peaceful world matters more than ever.